Let's get weird!
You may look at today's game and ask yourself, what does this game have that others in the same genre don't? The answer is not much, and yet it presents itself in a way that is not only visually interesting, but also keeps you invested in the plot. Today we're talking about Bayonetta. If you ever looked at this game and saw similarities between it and Devil May Cry, trust me, it is not by accident, as both were created by Hideki Kamiya, who several times has not only stated he enjoys both worlds, but has said that they share the same continuity. Now this does beg the question if we'll ever see a Dante vs. Bayonetta game at some point, which could be nifty, but let's get on to this game. Now once you see the game share the same continuity, it begs the question, does Bayonetta belong in the same universe? And the answer is an emphatic yes. In fact, the more times you play this game, the more you find to enjoy about it. Bayonetta herself is an excellent protagonist, spouting one-liners with the best of them. This is perhaps best displayed in her relationship with the child Cereza, which honestly reminded me a lot of the same bond Indy and Short Round shared in Temple of Doom. The fighting system isn't revolutionary in its element, however the ease of gameplay is perfect for both newcomers and button mashing masters. In fact, newcomers will be able to start the game on a lower difficulty so they can learn the system, whereas seasoned veterans will be able to jump right into higher difficulties and will feel right at home. One thing that made me hate the load screens, not at all, is the fact that it's somewhat of a tutorial to allow you to practice combos while the game is loading. In fact, this actually helped me get better at combos in between stages where I could test them and it would tell me how well I was doing. It's an innovative feature for a loading screen. I do wish other games would implement it. Now what helps the gameplay stay fresh is that each weapon you choose, and there are a lot, from whips, pistols, shotguns, katanas, lightsabers, so they call them laser swords, and even three-clawed machines that look like super-powered Wolverine, each have their own different combos, their own different attacks. It makes you feel like you're playing a completely different character each time you switch, and it allows you to change your playstyle on the fly. Along with combos, the game has several special moves, such as Witch Time, which is activated if you dodge an attack just before it hits you. This allows you to slow time a little bit to give you a tactical advantage and to do a lot of extra damage. This can be a lifesaver in boss fights, as you can get that last hit just before they kill you. Now speaking of boss fights, this one has some amazing ones, forcing you to think and change your strategy as they react to you. Another win for this game is the AI. The more you play it, the more the game will actually begin to tailor their attacks to what you use, meaning you have to play faster and smarter unless you're going to change it up. This is something we don't see today in some of the quote-unquote more advanced titles. Gameplay-wise, the coup de grace is the ultimate finishing move, which is used to kill most bosses, in which you common a demon of hell to devour your foes. These moments make you feel badass as skyscraper-sized beasts are eviscerated by your power. Now the story concerns the balance between the Lumen Sages, which are warriors of light, and the Umbran Witches, which are warriors of darkness. And I like the fact that in this game, light and darkness do not necessarily mean good and evil. There's a bit of a gray area on both sides. The main point of this game is there was a certain event that happened that split the Lumen Sages and the Umbran Witches up. And it's up to you to figure out what that event was, and throughout the game you begin to piece together clues as to what happened that made these two very powerful groups immediately turn on each other, to where the Umbran Witches, for example, are down to merely 2. Now the game is filled with references from other franchises, from Resident Evil to Evil Dead, and even Devil May Cry. If you enjoy finding things like this in games, you're going to find a lot of moments that'll make you chuckle. In fact, one of the game's transformations seen Bayonetta turning into the character from Okami, Mitsuru. Okami, as some of you may know, was also created by the same man. Now you may be wondering after all this, what are the negatives of Bayonetta? Honestly, there aren't many. First and foremost, the game has a lot of fan service, but that in and of itself is not necessarily a bad thing. However, in some areas, I feel like it went over the top, to the point to where it's actually distracting from the narrative. Let me tell you what I'm talking about. You see, that was no big deal. It didn't interrupt the story just to say, hey, look at this. It was just part of the flavor. Whereas something like this... felt it was just there for the sake of being fan servicey, and I've never really liked that. The only other complaint I really have about the game is the QTEs, because sometimes they can come right out of nowhere and you have split seconds to react, or it's literally game over. This makes these moments feel cheap, as if they were just there to give you a quick game over or something if you weren't paying attention. Not a horrible thing, but I feel like it does need to be mentioned. That said, Bayonetta is fun, has a few tender moments, and it's just a great game to play. Overall, I give it a 4.5 out of 5. Thank you very much for watching. Until next time, my name is Vega Goose saying, I'll see you next time.
She got a great ass!